Greetings! All right, we are just a few days away from Christmas Day. It is actually the 20th of December. And in my continuing progress, physical progress, return to physical well-being, I'm out on a walk, still taking it steady, but I am feeling better actually. I'm feeling a bit stronger, not quite so unstable in my back. I wouldn't say it's anywhere near 100%, but it's certainly improving. So I thought I'd come out on a walk this morning. Lovely brisk morning here in Somerset. I'm on my usual walk, which is only the second time I've done this in, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 months. I tried it a couple of weeks ago and it was a bit of a disaster because it was really difficult, but I think today it should be a little bit easier. So I thought I'd, basically just say a massive thank you to everyone that supported me through the year. And talk a little bit about what's happened and what's to come and things like that. And yeah, it's been a kind of really amazing year in lots and lots of ways. I feel very privileged to still be here making music and working on the film stuff that I'm working on and working with some fantastic people. I think one of the big things I've realised this year is how I've managed to, I guess, condense the sort of sphere of influence, if you like, of the people that surround me into a really great bunch of folk, and that's putting it sort of as best I can. I sort of made a decision last year that I was going to try and get rid of some of the negative aspects in my life, and I didn't think it would be something that would take a short amount of time. I think you've got to assess where you are with yourself and look back and reflect on things that have gone wrong as well as things that have gone right, and make some decisions. And those decisions sometimes are quite tough, and sometimes you've got to carefully take them and carefully make them and implement them in carefully as well. So that's what I've been doing. I don't want to sound mean or anything like that, but I think at the end of the day, as I'm heading towards my 60th birthday in a few years' time, 3 years' time, I don't want to just keep making the same mistakes, and keep banging my head against the same old brick walls. And so that's been a big part of this year, is just trying to figure some of that stuff out. So as we know, music business is changing massively. There's huge changes all over the world, isn't it, at the moment? But I choose to be positive about it all. One of the things I'm trying my hardest to do these days is actually to try and reduce the amount of social media that I'm involving myself in, because I don't know, I've talked about this online rather ironically, but and of course I'm doing this video, so I'm not for 1 minute saying that I'm I hate it or anything. Of course I don't. It's just more a question of being a little bit more discerning and not spending so much time looking at negative stuff and toxic stuff. I've noticed this year has become particularly toxic, and I just think it's kind of pointless. I didn't get into social media to end up having arguments with people, and I've ended up having arguments with people, which is kind of completely bizarre. Total strangers. And I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it's absolutely the truth. And so I'm trying to sort of reduce that and utilize social media in the way that I think it should be used, which is the way I've always believed it to be, which is just a way of people to talk about the things that they love, and the things that they like, and how we all have those things in common. Inevitably, you get drawn into the arguments, of course, of politics. I mean, especially this year, given the fact we've had a general election, etc., and what's going on in America. It's inevitable if you're a emotional person like I am, and I have a kind of political interest, that you inevitably get drawn into these things. But I'm trying to minimize that, because I don't want to spend the rest of my life angry and shouting at a screen. I really don't. So I'm trying to use it more as a positive thing and a way to interact with like-minded people. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of what has happened. Well, I had a fantastic start to the year last year. We went and did some Wayward Sun shows in January, which was really wonderful, and it kind of, in a crazy way, re-energized me to make some more new music, and I know that the consequences of that were that I didn't want to make any Wayward Sons music this year, but I decided to make a solo record. It's been coming for a long time, that, you know, but it was on that tour that I started to think, well, you know, I've got all these ideas knocking around, and you know, I want to do something, and you know, I've got different messages to send, and different things to talk about, and different ways I want to record music. And because music isn't something that should be pigeonholed. I mean, I know it's again another terrible cliche, but I hate being involved in something that can be regarded as being in a bracketed box. I just don't understand it. I never have. You know, why music should be something that you have to pin your colours to the mast. It makes no sense to me at all. There's so much great music out there, so many great artists. Whether they're holding a guitar or pressing a button, it doesn't matter to me, as long as the message and the music is really authentic and moves me. That's all that matters. You know, is to be moved by art. Art was never meant to be something that was belligerent, I don't think. I mean, yes, of course, the art world has summoned social, you know, sort of comment and helped to change the world because of the belligerence of it. Of course, I know that. Look at punk rock, etc. You know, we know this stuff, but I think at its heart, it's there to try and reflect aspects of the artists that are creating it, and what they feel about the world around them. And so it doesn't have to be a scrap all the time, you know. It doesn't have to be you know, a way of pointing a finger and all the rest of it. But you know, I know I've done that a lot in terms of being a protest singer. I've talked about this, and I still will remain that, but it's kind of like a protest singer with a small p. What I'm trying to do really is just reflect on how I see the world around me and what that means, and how it affects my life and the people that I love, and things that I care about. So it is very important, but I don't believe it needs to be bracketed. I don't think we have to call it anything. I just think, you know, it's either good or it's bad, you know, that sort of thing. And so the tour in January really re-galvanised my sort of love of songwriting and music, and as soon as I got back home from that tour, I started working on new music. And I got to say, even though I'd had a bit of a false start with it initially, I mean, when I got back me and my wife got back from our world trip, I started working on new music then, and I had Dave Kemp, my erstwhile best mate, songwriter, sidekick, call him what you will. That man is all of those things, as well as one of the loveliest people in the world. You know, I sort of tried to reuse or use a load of ideas that I'd had knocking around on my phone for absolutely ages, and I ended up sort of abandoning it all because I think I kind of reached the end of a trail, and largely to do with you know, the mental health journey that I've had over the last few years, and I felt myself coming out of the problem. You know, so I'd spent a lot of time evaluating the issues that I dealt with as a kid and as an adult, actually, and had a lot of therapy and felt the benefit of that. And by the time I sort of started to think about the solo record, a lot of the anger that I had about certain aspects of my life had kind of dissipated, and it felt really good. It was the first time I can honestly say that I felt real joy. I had moments of thinking, I've never felt this before. I know it sounds absolutely crazy, but it's true. When you've suffered you know, sort of traumatic experiences and things that have really impacted on your life, especially as a young person, you've carried those things as baggage through all of your life. It's quite an extraordinary thing when that baggage seems to disappear, or at least become very, very faint, enough for the natural responses I think we've all got as humans to enjoy ourselves. I think we have a natural affinity with joy, and I certainly felt that when that started sort of bleeding through, you know. And it was an incredible feeling. And so I embarked upon writing some absolutely brand new songs, and I sat down for sort of 3 weeks, roughly 3 weeks, and sort of came up with all of these 20 songs that are going on the Lookout song collection, which we've obviously released to volume 1. And you know, but I'm going ahead of myself a little bit here. So we finished the tour in January, and I started working on the songs, and I got involved with Dave, and Dave came down and we started demoing. Well, I started demoing, and for the first time in my life I did some actually proper demos. I don't really like doing demos. Usually they just exist on my phone and that's kind of it. But I did some proper demos, which all you guys are going to hear. I'm going to be releasing those as well, alongside the masters. And it was a real joy, you know. I wrote all the words, all the melodies, put all the arrangements together. And yeah, went into the studio and had a couple of fantastic weeks with some amazing musicians. It was the most joyous experience I think I've ever had in the studio. It was so relaxed, so much fun. It kind of reinvented the sort of feelings of how to record music. There was no pressure. We just did what we wanted to do. I let the songs dictate the direction. And if I felt I needed a glockenspiel on something, then it got a glockenspiel, that sort of thing, you know. So we ended up with lots and lots of different instruments, full string arrangements, full horn section, all sorts of things, you know. So it's been absolutely brilliant. And that experience was an experience in the studio I'll never forget. And so, you know, I think all in all, the beginning of the year was absolutely off the scale. And that joy of, you know, recording then led into me going out on tour acoustically, which was really great through May, June and a bit into July. And had a fantastic time. In fact, one of the most enjoyable touring experiences I think I've ever had in my entire life, you know. Played some, well, all small venues and not huge audiences, but whoever turned out, I think really enjoyed it. And it was an opportunity for me to play not only Little Angel stuff, some of my rarer sort of solo stuff, but also I played a couple of new songs. I played the actual title track, Look Out, and also Falling in Love is Harder, which is going to be on the next volume, actually volume 2. And that went down great, and it was a real joy to sort of see that people were reacting immediately to a new song. Which, you know, as a songwriter, that's all you want, you know. I think one of the biggest struggles I've ever had with the music industry is that everything just seems to be geared towards the idea of fame and hugeness and massive success and financial success and everyone making tons of money and all the rest of it. And I've never really looked at it like that. I guess that's why I'm still not a very wealthy man. But I'm wealthy in other ways, you know, same old cliches, of course, but I am. I feel, you know, when people react to my songs because I've written something that really somehow touches a nerve or touches an emotional, contextual element in people's lives, then that's the biggest reward I could possibly get. And I'm very, very fortunate, you know. I still have an audience that still want to hear my music, and it still gets listened to, and I still have people that respect what I do, and that's absolutely everything, actually. Because I think the music business makes a mistake, always has had, that it assumes it has a right to people's attention. You know, it's become such a corporate business that it ignores the humanity half the time. And so there's a kind of expectation that everyone's just going to like it, you know, and I've never believed in that. I've always believed that, you know, the music business, the worst thing about it is the business, actually. It's more about the actual, you know, if you forget about the heart and soul of writing the songs and creating something that people can really latch onto, then you're barking up the wrong tree anyway. Of course, you know, I've been a product of the British music industry, and I'm very thankful for it. But it was kind of at a time when the music industry was still concerned about the music. You know, a lot of the people I met when we were at Polydor were dedicated music fans, you know, genuinely, and we had such a great time putting it all together. Yeah, we made some mistakes, we didn't get it all right, but we certainly created a legacy, and it was built off this kind of real desire to create something really special that could last for a long, long time. And I'm not sure that the music industry really feels that anymore. It seems to be absolutely dedicated towards the corporate nature of everything. You know, whenever I talk to people in the music industry these days that are involved at the coalface, specifically kind of in the pop world in lots of ways, and I'm not decrying the pop world because I love a lot of pop music, but the conversation is always about promotion. It's never about actually making the music. It seems like the music's the last thing people think about. You know, it's crazy, really. But anyway, maybe that's me just being an old fart. Anyway, what I can't do is, you know, what's the old saying about have the wisdom to understand the things you can't change, and then, you know, be brave enough to change the things that you can, and have the wisdom or something to know the difference. I think I've made that. I think it's a brilliant quote, and I think I'll put it on a Facebook post a couple of weeks ago, and it got a great reaction, because I think that's true. You know, you can't control everyone, and I've really got into this let them sort of philosophy, which I think is really brilliant. You know, that you can't control everyone. You can't, and I've not that I've ever really tried to control everyone, but you do get drawn into this. Sorry, I'm going through a terrible muddy puddle. But you know, it's a kind of, I guess, you know, sort of like the result of difficulty, and you trying to analyse and work out why things haven't worked. You often get drawn into these sort of strange headspaces of, you know, wanting to, I don't know, understand people's motivations more so than perhaps you need to, you know. Sorry, but this is really difficult. Oh, it's a muddy slope. Look at this. Probably doesn't look that bad, but it's pretty slippy. Anyway, so, you know, all in all, what I kind of mean is that I think my life, my processes as an artist, inevitably you rub up against a lot of people, and it's a question of how those relationships develop, and you know, how you develop trustful relationships, respectful relationships, and allow those things to all intertwine to create a good result. But you can't control it. You can't control how people respond, why they respond, and how, you know, that can then affect everything. It's not right, actually. So a big part of my process this year has been to try and find peace with that. You know, I may not be the most successful artist in the world, but I've got fans, and I've got people that do care about my music. You know, I don't have a huge castle in Scotland and drive a Ferrari, fly around the world in first class, you know, etc. And I don't really care about any of that. I really don't. I've realised that, you know, it is about the experience of life and the positivity that you bring to yourself more than anything else, as well as all the people that you love. So the tour became a real eye-opener for me, and we ended the whole tour with our Patreon get-together, which we did in Scarborough, which was fantastic. Bizarrely, the place that we ended up eating, and I did my final performance of that tour, was at a cafe called The Lookout. And that was totally coincidental. Now, you know me, you guys, if you've watched this, you know that I'm not a religious man. I don't have any belief at all in faith-based religions, you know, any of that. It makes no sense to me at all. I don't really believe in coincidence or fate or any of that stuff either. I think it's all just crutches that we've built for ourselves to try and cope with life, and that's fine. You know, if you have to use those things to get you through life, then I've got, again, let them. You've got to do whatever you want to do to kind of get you through, whatever gets you through the night and all that. But for me, it makes no sense. But the idea of ended up playing at a cafe called The Lookout was rather sweet, and like I say, I don't take anything ethereal away from that, but it was a wonderful kind of climax to the whole tour, and we had a really great night. And all I can really say is to any Patreons that are on my Patreon system, thank you so much for all your continued support. It's been amazing. I mean, I think me and Rob realised we've been doing it for something like 3 years now. I think it might even be longer than that. And it's just been incredible. And I've enjoyed it so much, you know, speaking to everyone on a Monday night. We do these live events on a Monday night, most Mondays. It hasn't been the same recently because of problems I've been dealing with. But most Mondays we sort of get together and we go live for an hour, and we have a subject that we talk about, and it could be art, literature, music, films, anything really. And it's been a real joy meeting everybody and getting to know everybody. And I think one of the things I take away from it is you realise how, you know, we are all the same, aren't we? You know, no one's got a right to, you know, a better opinion, or someone's opinion is better than someone else's. We've all, you know, it's our absolute best. I think human beings are wonderfully creative, and I think really when you build a community of people that love creativity, the sort of the feeling of it's really, really special, very potent. And I've had some real revelations on these conversations on the Monday nights from people, you know, how smart everybody is, and how we all, you know, everyone's got sort of wonderful views of things. And yeah, it's really wonderful. So, I mean, if anyone's interested in looking at my Patreon site, just go onto my website, tobyjepsonofficial.com, and all the info's there, because, you know, I always love to see new members. So yeah, so after the tour, the back end of the year really, I guess through the remaining of the summer, I went away, had a couple of holidays, which was really lovely. Went to Portugal, had a brilliant time in Portugal. Couldn't recommend Portugal enough. What a wonderful, wonderful country. Went there in September with Ket and some family, and really had a great time. I can see why people live there, and I mean, of course, Phil Martini, the wonderful drummer of Wayward Sons, lives in Portugal anyway, and he knows how great it is, and I could certainly live there. It's a great place, but such a kind, calm, just a wonderful vibe in the place. You know, everyone's so relaxed, and it just felt such a nice place to spend some time, you know, so that was really great. And of course we started to plan the release of the first Lookout record, and managed to get stuff finished at home. I do a lot of my editing, well, most of my editing and all of my singing, and you know, at home, and then sort of obviously sent the tracks up to Christy Adder, who I've been working with for years now, up at Vale Studios, which sadly is no more. Vale Studios is no longer a professional studio. They've closed their doors, although Chris is still working. He does mixes and things, so that's sad, but we were the last band ever to work there, you know. But anyway, Chris did some brilliant mixes, and we released the record, and it's been absolutely fantastic seeing all your responses to the new music. I really can't thank you enough. But sadly, the what coincided with the release of Lookout, the first volume, was me getting this back problem, which I've been suffering from really since the sort of, I guess, sort of end of October really, and it has been an actual pain in the back and really difficult. Oh, hang on, there's a car coming, just give me 2 seconds. But I have to say, actually, one of the results of suffering this sort of back issue is, again, another period of reflection. You know, I sort of found myself lying on the floor, feeling like I sort of lost a part of myself somehow, and yeah, not easy. I've got to say, there's another car coming out. Hold on, it's busy round here, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, so quite a period of reflection, and I've just taken a long, hard look at myself, really, I think, really. And I mean, I've always been a very physical person. I've, you know, obviously touring for 40 odd years, and I ran a building firm years ago, which is probably where this problem started, actually, to be 100% honest. But I've always been fit, always run. I always loved running and in the gym, and maybe not quite so much as I should have been towards the end, and maybe that's part of the problem. And I think, you know, these are the things that we have to face about ourselves, certainly as you're getting older. You know, it's not quite as easy as you think, is it? But nevertheless, I've had some great care. I mean, again, I send out a massive salute to our wonderful NHS system, which may be flawed, but it's certainly been looking after me. They got right on the problem, and it's been really quite wonderful how I've been dealt with, and the results of it have been fantastic. There you go, there's a bit of a community spirit. Someone's just pulled up. You probably noticed a car pulled up behind me, and a young chap asked me if I was all right. Do I look that old? I probably do. Anyway, just to pick it up, yeah, so, you know, essentially there's no point going around the houses, but, you know, the NHS have been brilliant, and I'm being taken care of. And last week I had my MRIs, like I said at the beginning of this whole thing, so things are moving forward. But, you know, you know, what I try and do with any of these situations, whether it's, you know, when you get into these negative, unfortunate, difficult situations like this, which, you know, I haven't had many in my life, I'll be honest, but there's been a few. I try and just adjust my horizons a little bit and do something positive within it. So one of the great things that came out of this issue with my back is because I was sat around a lot with my feet up and trying to rest, was I managed to kind of get the film script that I've been working on this year, which is a really important project for me, which hopefully is getting made this time next year in Australia. That's the plan. I've been working with the script supervisor and that company, and I managed to kind of get the script finished, up to the 5th draft, which I think has pleased everybody. And there's a big sort of consensus of, really busy around here today. real big consensus of yes about the whole thing and the story and the characters and all the rest of it. So that's been really, really great. And I was worried about it really, because I had so many other things going on that like, you know, there was going to be all the, obviously the Wayward Son shows that we had to postpone to next April, which was sad. But, you know, I was worried because of those gigs and the rehearsals and everything else. I wasn't going to get the script done, and I've been working right up till Christmas, and I was getting pressure from the company. So in a kind of weird way, at least that got dealt with, if you know what I mean. So there's always a positive, there's always a silver lining somewhere. That's what I feel. So got that done and reworked a few of the scripts, and I actually have started doing an online screenwriters course with a really fantastic British screenwriter called Dominic Morgan, who has taught me so much. I mean, I've learned so much in the last couple of months of doing this course, and I'm joining their professional course next year in January for a month, and it's been a revelation. And what I take from that is that you're never too old. Don't ever think that you can't do something. Now, I'm not, you know, I'm in my middle age, late middle age really, I guess, but I still feel just as ambitious as I've ever done, and I'm finding the screenwriting stuff as exciting as it felt when I was a kid trying to learn the guitar. That's how I can frame it. That's what it feels like to me. It's a new horizon. I feel fresh to it. It feels enlivening, and it feels like a real challenge. And I think that's what we need in our lives. We always need a challenge. And I think if you've got a challenge in your life, you're never going to get old. You might look old. Your face might not be the same one staring out at you from the mirror that it was when it was 20. But inside you remain young, and I think that's the most important aspect of aging, is that you find stuff to do, you keep yourself active. And so I guess all that remains to be said is that I am getting better, I'm feeling better. I'm hoping these April shows with Wayward Sons will go ahead. That will, I'm sure they will. It will all depend on what the results of my MRI and what the procedures need to be, but I am looking at that as an absolute yes, so rest assured, hopefully we'll be out there. But I just wanted to say an absolutely massive thank you to all of you that have supported me and watched these videos and bought a CD or bought a t-shirt, and, you know, just general have interest in what I'm doing. It really is, it still astounds me that after so many years being Little Angels and doing the solo stuff and then getting onto Planet Rock and, you know, doing all the bands I've been part of, that people still take an interest. It's incredibly humbling and astounding to me that people still care. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful Merry Christmas and a brilliant New Year, and I will see you, as they say, on the flip side. Take care of yourselves. Thanks.